Hello, thank you for joining today. My name is Harry Ellis with Next Horizon, where we make sense of technology. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about detecting phishing emails, as well as looking at some of the Office 365 phishing emails in an attempt for you to quickly be able to determine if an email is legitimate or not. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is the 7 steps of quickly to determine if an email is phishing or not. The first thing you're going to want to look at is the sender's address, which is right here above the to address, which should be addressed to you. On the from address, you have 2 pieces of information. The first part is what we call the display name. The display name can be anything. And then the second part, which is usually found in some type of brackets depending on your email client, is the actual email address that it's from. So this is what you're going to want to look at. The display name, like I said, can be anything, but this is second part for where the actual email address is from is where you're going to want to notice if it's legitimate. The second thing you're going to want to look at is obviously the subject line. In this example, your credit card has been suspended. Is that normal? Is that a normal email address or a normal email that you would be receiving from your bank? Then the third item would be the generic greeting. Dear customer, not unique to yourself. So, or it contains, if it's a joint email, maybe somebody is quote unquote sending you a file, does it tell you who your colleague is that is sending you that file in the subject line? Number 4 is let's look for errors. Look for errors in the communication as far as misspelled words, commas, improper punctuation. In this scenario, the reason for the EROR is uncertain. So there's some misspellings in here. Odds are large corporations are not going to have misspellings in their communication. So that's another red flag. Number 5 is let's take a look at the links where they want to send you. If you simply highlight over top of the URL, you're going to see where it says click here. You're going to come up and show you inside of Outlook in your email client where it wants you to take you. If that URL is not the actual legitimate location where you should go for that certain information, then that's another red flag. 6 is the tone. If they set a specific amount of time for you to respond or do an action, that's another red flag. Most credit card companies are going to give you an email address, or a bank will give you a phone number or an email or some type of communication if you don't feel comfortable doing it through the web. And then lastly, the images. Are the images correct? So in this scenario, you see antivirus verified, and it kind of looks like the Norton security logo, but it's not. It's missing pieces. So in this kind of scenario, check the brand here as well as the brand of the bank to make sure that it's a legitimate image. So now let's jump into an example of an Office 365 image. So in this scenario, we've got an image of an email with Microsoft Office at no reply at docinfo.com. And then inside the body of the email is addressed to the sender, and it says a colleague has shared an important document with you. Didn't give you the colleague's name, and it says that you must sign in with your account to view the secured document. So there's 2 flags right off the top of my head that we can take a look at to immediately legitimize this as phishing. First, no reply at docinfo.com. That is not the email address for Microsoft. Second, a colleague has shared an important document with you, but they're not telling you who the colleague is. All they want you to do is view the link. So the content of the email is forcing you to view the link without giving you some type of information of who it's from. So what we do in this scenario for Office 365 users is we add these caution and warning symbols here. The warning in red basically states that the sender of this email could not be validated and may not match the person in the from field. So what we do is we compare the display name to the email address inside of the actual body of the message, and if they do not equal each other, then we show this red line right here. In other words, it's stating that we cannot verify that this docinfo.com is allowed to send email on behalf of Microsoft Office. The second option is this gold section right here where it says that the email originated from outside of your organization, and do not click the attachments unless you recognize the sender and the content is safe. What we do for this item is because there are a lot of phishing exploits that make the message seem like it's coming from inside your organization. So again, we're checking the content of behind the scenes of the email to make sure that the gold symbol is legitimate by comparing the actual from address to your organization. And if it did not originate from your Exchange server, then what we're going to do is we're going to mark that in gold, basically as a reminder, even though that it says that it's from you or from your organization or from a user in your organization, we could not verify that the fact that that email was sent properly. So here's a quick example of how these two warnings can quickly determine, without even reading or looking at the header, to determine that this is a phishing email and it should be ignored and deleted. The next thing we can do is look at some of these other ones. So let's take a look at this one. This is an Office 365 email. If we look, Microsoft is spelled incorrectly. And then if we highlight over the link, you'll look at the link to the actual location is not Microsoft.com. So in this scenario, we should ignore it. Let's look at a breakdown. The next thing we're going to take a look at is an email breakdown, 7 points of a Office 365 email notification. The first one you want to look at again is the subject line. 2 is the email. Again, email notification with a space and a period. And then you go into the fact of the Office 365 logo is missing. And then it's saying that your account is going to be suspended without any notification or information. And then it gives you information to go to a different website. And then obviously it's not the correct footer for Microsoft. Here's another great one. Office 365 tax refund service. If it sounds good, too good to be true, most likely it is. Again, configure your bank account. Things like this are all triggers for phishing exploits. Most of these are going to take you to a screen like this. This is what we want to try to avoid and not get to, where it wants you to go to an Office 365 webpage. It could even look as legitimate as this itself. Okay, it could look almost just like the Microsoft webpage. Okay, that's how sophisticated these logins can look like. I'll show you an example here. This is a screenshot that looks just like Office 365's email login. Now we just saw a legitimate one 2 seconds ago. The only difference between this one and the non-legitimate one is this URL right here. We've got to be careful. If it is not a Microsoft domain name, do not enter your username and password. Once they grab that username and password, then they can use it for anything that they want to inside of Office 365, as well as any of those passwords that are used for anything else that you may have secured, like bank accounts or your personal Facebook page or your Twitter page or anything like that that you have your email address for. I hope this information was usable today, and we look forward to continue to support you and your organization. Have a great weekend.